IT Nation Grow. Had the great pleasure of attending IT Nation Grow in December 2024 at ConnectWise headquarters downtown Tampa. Great event. Talk about mergers and acquisition, about growing your MSP. There was buyers there, sellers there. Just a great event and a great community that's being generated from it. I had a great opportunity to talk to 10 individuals while I was there. Really great conversations, really diverse group from very different backgrounds, some MSPs, some bankers, some PE firms, some vendors, really great conversations there. And I enjoyed every single one of them. It got crowded at particular points. Some of the audio might be tricky. It was a great event, IT Nation Grow, December 2024. I look forward to doing many, many more. Thank you, all 10 of you, for your time spending your time with me, having a conversation and listening to my questions. Thanks again.
Hi, I'm Joey Pinz, and here's my 45-second introduction. After starting my business in the 90s, I started developing poor habits of eating in my diet because of working way too much. I found myself at 340 pounds. The doctor told me if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. I took the next 7 months, lost 130 pounds. People ask me, how'd you do it? What's the secret? I need to lose weight. How'd you do it? How did I lose the weight? Just one word: discipline. I've had other successes in life, and I attribute them all to discipline. Now, I'm not the king of discipline, but I believe that it can help all of us. Friends convinced me to start a podcast. The podcast mission: how do we better ourselves and society? I talk to interesting people in health, fitness, sport, wellness, business, technology, science, art, and culture. And I eventually ask them how discipline plays a role in their life. Podcast vision: growth through learning from others.
I mean, the problem with golf is that it'll keep you up at night and, drive you crazy. Food and wine. I mean, you're right there in Napa. I mean, I could see how that could be.
Oh yeah, and I think the Bay Area has the most Michelin stars restaurants.
Do
in the
they
US.
really?
Yeah, I think Japan has the most, and then the U.S.
Wow.
Bay Area has the most.
Japan has more Michelin restaurants than the U.S.
More than France.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. It's always I've only had the opportunity to be to a few, all in New York City that I think about it.
New York's got some good ones.
Yeah. It's always amazing to me that a tire company is also in charge of the biggest,
Yeah,
or the
exactly.
most highly
Best restaurant
decorated
review, in the world.
Yeah. I don't really understand the relationship there. I don't really understand how it works. But so how can you tell a good wine? Because I don't know.
Good.
Jay.
Well, wine comes in all flavors, man. It's,
Yeah.
It's about what you like. For me, it's more white wines. It's more old world white wines, like Italian, French. I used to drink a lot of Napa, Sonoma wines, but kind of like moved away from those. They're too bold, too kind of in your face.
The term old world and new world. So new world would be the U.S. and old world would be Europe.
New world is Africa, U.S., Australia, Latin America. Old world is largely Europe.
I say, and old world is Europe because they've just been doing it for
Forever.
so long.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my father's from Italy, and he used to make wine every year, Jay. And it was, he would just get the grapes and crush them, and then in the spring he'd drink it. And so it was very local table wine, and I still never got a taste for it though.
Right, what do you drink then? Whiskey?
Yeah, I like whiskey. I like tequila. I
Oh,
like
there you go.
a little bit of beer. Yeah, more of those kind of spirits than. So if as a white wine drinker, are you vegetarian?
No.
Oh, so when you're eating red meat, do you pair it with red wine or do you?
Yeah. For red meat, for a nice steak, I'll definitely go for a red wine.
And it will always be old world.
Predominantly.
Wow. Any difference between Italy, Spain, France?
Yeah. I'd say even within France, like you got heavy big Bordeaux's, more flavorful Chateauneuf de Pape, and then you got the more, I'd say, refined Burgundy. So wine is like a million different colors.
It sure is.
Yeah.
I recently had the opportunity. I was at an event in Miami. We went to a great Japanese restaurant, and I've had sake before, but this one, Jay, it was like butter. I mean, I know that's a whole discipline over there. Do you have
Yeah,
any
yeah.
insight on that?
Not as much as I do on wine, but yeah,
Right.
sake is kind of like wine too, right? It's fermented. They use different types of grains. They have all kind of processes involved in it, and Japanese, like look at how they take care of their cows. So
Right.
sake comes in all different flavors too, and I'll always enjoy a nice sake when I go to a Japanese place.
And it could be warm, it could be cold, it could, chilled. It's amazing.
Yeah.
We never have warm wines. We have how?
No. You can have a mulled wine,
Oh, the
or
mulled
or as
wines.
the French
Yes.
call it, vin chaud. That's good.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
spicy and
Hmm.
holiday spirits.
Wow. Do you collect wine as well?
No, I live in a small condo in San Francisco.
I say.
I don't have room to
There's
collect
no
anything.
room. There's no room for it all. Yeah. And you cook as well, or you just like
No.
you just
I'll
so.
cook. Yeah,
But you consider yourself a foodie.
I'll try to.
And your favorite type, your favorite culture of eating?
I'm Korean, so I gotta say Korean.
It's all Korean. So you don't.
No, actually, I love Italian food. I love
do
Italian
ya?
food. I probably get a nice pasta dish like at least once or twice a week.
Wow. Wow. Did your relatives make kimchi?
My grandmother did, yeah.
That must be incredible. And whenever I have it, it's but
Homemade kimchi.
yes, yes. I mean, it's so good for you, and it's just so different. You could pickle almost anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Cucumbers, radishes,
Yeah.
cabbage. And now they're coming out with some like westernized versions of different vegetables as well.
Oh my goodness, it's so good. And of course, Korean barbecue.
Yeah.
It's amazing here in the States. We always have this idea of like kind of Southern barbecue, but I mean, Asians have been doing barbecue. Even Europeans, the Germans have been doing barbecue for a long time, very differently.
Different style, for sure.
Very different style,
Yeah.
but still very tasty.
Yep.
Yeah.
No doubt there.
We're here at IT Nation Grow in Tampa, downtown Tampa, ConnectWise building. What are some of your goals here?
My goal here is, to give as much as I can. I think each of us bring our respective domain of expertise, and there's some things that I think a lot of business owners, being a business owner myself, are not aware of, and I'd love to kind of share the good message and help people kind of learn new things.
We've talked before, Jay. You've been involved in some pretty big companies and some mergers that happened. Remind me?
So before I started Embark, which was 6.5 years ago, I was an investment banker with Goldman. So I was on a deal where we sold Yahoo to Verizon.
That's right.
We sold MuleSoft to Salesforce.com. Also did the SanDisk deal to Western Digital, and then a whole bunch of like smaller PE VC-backed deals as well.
Yeah, SanDisk, which is still a big, I forgot when they bought it too. Yahoo to Verizon, I forgot when that happened because Microsoft was going to buy them for a while. Then something happened.
That was a long time ago. Yeah, Microsoft tried to buy them. I think Jerry Yang said no. And then many years later, when Marissa Mayer was CEO, I think that was in 2017, that deal happened.
Wow. And what are the lessons learned from that Yahoo? Because, like I said, because they were valued very high, but then they weren't, correct?
They essentially sold for the same value that
they did?
Microsoft offered like a decade ago. So maybe the lesson learned is know your value. They could have gotten the same value 10 years ago for the business there. But then I think it kind of shows that even great companies, at some point they struggle to continue to grow, right? Yahoo was my first email address.
Yeah, well, me too.
But now people don't talk about it much, right?
I wonder if I still have it. I wonder because are they still around or Yahoo?
Yahoo's still around. Yeah. So Verizon bought AOL and then they bought Yahoo, and then they packaged. I think they decided that that's not the right path, so they packaged all of that and then sold it to Apollo. It's a private equity firm.
Oh wow!
Private equity owned now.
Amazing. So you after all that, why create your own firm, Jay?
So I think M&A is fun. I love doing M&A. I think the one there's a couple of downsides of being an investment banker. One is the ridiculous hours.
Yes.
But the other thing is, I think when you work with Fortune 500 companies, it's very transactional. You work with some amazing CEOs, CFOs, the board. You get a deal done, and then you're done.
That's it.
Never heard from Marissa Mayer after that.
Really?
She probably doesn't even know who I am.
Wow.
But I think when you work with entrepreneurs, you build a really deep relationship. And I actually the deals I enjoyed the most when I was a banker were the smaller ones because you really got to know the CEO well, the CFO well. I still keep in touch with some of those guys. And you build a different level of relationship. And my dad was an entrepreneur. This is actually my second company. I did a network security company 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So I think I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I love being with entrepreneurs. So my idea was, let's take what I'm good at, which is M&A and finance, and build a firm that works with the audience that I enjoy being with. So we want to kind of take that Goldman, McKinsey level skill set and apply it to middle market business owners, all the folks that are here at IT Nation.
So an MSP, there's some here, and there's so much talk, Jay, of PE, of acquisitions, mergers and acquisition. There's a lot of confusion out there. What are you here to tell the MSP?
Well, I think my message to business owners is a couple things. One is you got to start planning way in advance. A lot of people come to us and say, I want to sell my business now in 6 months. And we can do that, but my only regret in that situation is I feel like the owner's still leaving a ton on the table. So, for example, one thing that we advocate for is we talk to a lot of folks and say, what's your horizon look like? And a lot of people will say 3 to 5 years. And I say, if it's 5 years, well, you should think about QSBS, because then that means you might not pay any taxes when you sell.
QSBS.
Yeah, QSBS stands for Qualified Small Business Stock. It's Section 1202 in the IRS code. And that's basically, it's something that the government put in place. And one of the few things that the government did a really good job of is if you're a business owner and if you've kind of built that business with certain qualifications over a certain period of time, when you sell, you can get $10 million or more capital gains free.
Wow.
That means you sell your business for $10 million, you can pay zero in capital gains taxes.
Wow.
But it takes 5 years for that to vest.
Very interesting. How long has this been around?
This has been around for decades, and it's gotten better and better. Before, it was you could only get 50% of your sale value capital gains free, and that became 75%. And most recently, with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that happened during the prior Trump administration, it went up to 100%.
Wow.
So if you sell for $10 million, you can get 100% of that capital gains free. And if you structure it right, you can get 20, 30, 50 million plus capital gains free.
Wow. QSBS. This is an important loophole that many business owners need to know about.
Not a loophole. It's an incentive. It's basically the government saying, hey, you're a business owner. You spent years and years building a great business, creating jobs, paying people,
right?
Building the economy. Like middle market's the backbone of this economy, right? So we want to thank you. So when you sell your business and exit, you don't have to pay capital gains taxes.
Wow.
But it's out there in plain sight, but a lot of people don't know about it.
QSBS. And what is the difference between, what is a loophole? I used an improper term there.
I just think loophole has a shady nuance to it.
It does. Only a certain few know about it.
My goal is to shed light here so that people recognize that this is a very common thing in the Bay Area. The Bay Area having a lot of like tech startups.
Yes.
Pretty much every single one of them take advantage of this. If you talk to any tax guy, tax lawyer in the Bay Area, they know what QSBS is. But oddly, even if I go to LA, a lot of people don't know about it.
Wow.
If I go to New York or Miami, they don't know about it. Certainly if I go to like the Midwest, they don't talk about it.
Wow.
So one of my goals coming here is I want everyone to know about it and start thinking about it. And the sooner that they put it into action, the quicker that 5-year period is going to be sufficed.
And why would an MSP want to work with you? You talked about telling the business owner to plan ahead, but why would they want to work with you, Jay?
Yeah, so when I looked at the middle market, there's a lot of investment bankers out there. They generally have a similar kind of spiel to it, which is they're going to charge a success fee. Now the downside of the success fee is they're not able to support a company for multiple years. So we change the business model. What we do is we bill hourly, like a law firm. That means someone can come to us and say, hey, I want to sell 3 years from now. We can support them as their kind of like CFO team, help them get ready to clean up their books, get better reporting, help them implement EOS, all kinds of stuff. And then maybe they want to do an acquisition, integrate that. Because we get paid for our time, we can support them throughout that journey as they become a better and better company, increasing their value over time. And then when they go to sell, again, we're just going to bill hourly, which in my mind ends up being a much lower overall fee, and we get better service.
Yeah, your business model is very different. And what's the difference between a investment bank and a PE firm?
PE firms are those that are doing the buying. They have capital, and they're private equity firms, so they have the capital to deploy and acquire. An investment bank is more of an intermediary. It's an advisor, that either advises the buyer or the seller to consummate a transaction.
Now, can't there be some conflict occasionally, Jay, if you're representing both the buyer and the seller?
Yeah, I think in general, investment banks should choose to advise either a buyer or a seller. In the rare instance that they might be advising both, I think it's important that they make it very clear that there is a conflict of interest. But sometimes it still happens because there's no better option.
Yeah, very, very important. And so when MSPs are looking, if they're thinking about it and they hear so much about it, if you contact a PE firm, then they're going to be the one who's actually going to, they don't really consult, right? They're going to be the one who might purchase, whereas an investment banker will actually consult and give you multiple options.
Yeah. I think it's important that when a business owner looks to sell a company, that they bring in expertise. For example, if I'm building a company and I feel that IT and cybersecurity is important, I shouldn't go and Google best tools for cybersecurity and start putting in McAfee and Norton antivirus, right? For those reasons, I think IT MSP business owners should also seek experts. If I get hit by a ransomware attack, I don't go and ask ChatGPT, like, how do I solve the ransomware attack? I should consult an expert. So for those same reasons, I think when an owner tries to do it yourself with a big M&A transaction, which is really the pinnacle of their 10, 20, 30 years of effort, they might end up making mistakes that they don't even know they made the mistake.
Yeah, very, very important, very big distinction there. Yeah. Has there been anything, Jay, in the last month or so you changed your mind on?
Last month or so? That's a good question. Well, I think one thing that I changed my mind was I think next year we're going to invest more in digital marketing. This year we've been testing a lot of different types of modes of sales and marketing. I tried the idea of having each person do a little bit more of kind of like man-to-man biz dev work. But my learning from this year is that, the digital marketing channel still has a lot of opportunity, even for B2B services. And
sure does.
Kind of doing that through podcasts, newsletters, LinkedIn, SEO. I think my takeaway is that's a higher ROI than using a lot of man labor.
It's interesting. It's taking you. I figure you would have. How did you learn this? The hard way? I mean, why didn't you kind of do this before?
Well, I experimented with different. I think it's a constant learning curve. One of our company's core values is Kaizen, which means to continuously learn and improve.
Yes.
And so we've tried a variety of different things. Well,
how's AI going to help investment bankers?
That's a great question. So one thing that we found is, it used to be that finding a buyer is very difficult because you don't have their contacts. It got a lot easier, I would say, in the last 5-10 years, because nowadays through online databases or resources, you can find buyers that are interested in MSP businesses or landscape business and whatnot. What we find now is if you apply AI to those databases, it's very easy to find interested buyers.
Interesting.
And so as a firm, we're not specialized in just MSPs. This year we've done transactions in landscaping and healthcare and industrials and aerospace. And sometimes people ask us, like, well, how do you know the buyers? And I tell them, finding the buyers is the easiest part. What's hard is then, negotiating the best deal and positioning the story. So I think the value proposition of an investment banker or broker is moving away from just finding buyers but it's really more towards excellence in execution. And I think by same virtue, most MSPs, even if they don't have an investment banker, they get knocked on the door all the time by
They
buyers
do.
because those buyers are using the same AI tools to find MSP targets.
Hmm. So I don't know if you know my story, Jay. So I started my MSP in the 90s, and I was working way too hard, not paying attention to myself. And I'm at the doctor's office. I'm up to 340 pounds. Yeah, and she says to me, if I don't lose this weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. She had just been born. Scared the life out of me, Jay. So I'm driving home, punching the steering wheel. And how did I do this to myself? So I spent the next 6-7 months, lost 130 pounds, and kept it off. You can't look at it as a finishing line. You know, it's lifelong changes. And I tell people this story, and they say, okay, well, how'd you do it? What's the secret? And there's no secret. Discipline. That's how I lost. I got focus and willpower. There's no secret here. How does discipline play a role in your life, Jay?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think focus and discipline is the name of the game to success. Again, I go back to Kaizen. Like, I think health is very important. We're gonna all live a long life. But I want to live a healthy long life. So I work out 6 days a week. Between strength training and running, cardio work, yoga. I make sure I get 8 hours of sleep every day. I don't know if you read that book, Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. Once you read that, you realize that like sleeping less than 8 hours, that's virtually suicide.
Wow.
And the same thing with work. Like we started rolling out EOS this year. We do it vigilantly, following the rules, the guides, really doing it by the book. And I think successful business building is all about discipline and execution. There's no real rocket science behind it.
Yeah, there really isn't. And there's a lot of great traits there, Jay. I thank you so much for your time. Anybody listening that want to get in touch with you, how can we do so?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. It's LinkedIn/Embark. You can also find us on our website, www.embarkadvisors.com. That's Embark with a C.
Embark with a C, advisors.com.
Yeah, it's like the Embarcadero in San Francisco.
And your email is Jay at?
Embark Advisors. Jung at embarkadvisors.com. Jung at embarkadvisors.com.
Jay, thanks so much for your time. Always a pleasure to see you, my friend.
Likewise. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypinz.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.